Hello and welcome to my world and another video here on this pokey little YouTube channel of mine, going through crap that I have in my collection, and we're talking about my DVD collection. And we'll be going through two containers this week, as you probably could have told just by the thumbnail. And let me tell you, trying to take those screenshots, holding them up and and reaching for the key that I have here, I don't use the timers, don't generally work out the way I want, and plus, think of that as a bit of a behind the scenes chicanery that I get up to. Right, and the date of this recording is April 10th, 2023, and we're going to start with this one here. And you all could probably have already told what this is here, but I give my thoughts and opinions on what we have here. Because mix it up here. We'll go from right to left, well, my right to your left, or I don't know. We got John Cena in the Marine. Oh, saw this in theaters with my mom, actually. So there was we were living in apartment literally one street over, but several blocks up from where I live now. So so that's something here. This is the unrated version that has both the theatrical cut and the unrated version. And I don't, for the life of me, I don't recall the difference between the two versions of this movie. I honestly don't. Probably who makes this movie the most is Robert Patrick. There is that little reference to the Terminator. Like one of Patrick's characters stuck said he's like the Terminator, and you got this cut to Robert Patrick's looking through the rear view mirror. So there's like a nice little nod there. So I thought that was kind of a cute reference here. Next we got another WWE related film: Stone Cold Steve Austin, Vinnie Jones in The Condemned. I for years I thought it was like it's all right. It's a little, but what this movie is, it's essentially Fortnite the movie, just without all the cartoony graphics. Or like your was Call of Duty Black Ops 4, I think was one that's just straight up a brawl. But again, all it is, it's a battle royale. So 10 people will fight, 9 will die. So it's it's an okay action movie that I remember, but as far as I remember, but it's been a long time since I've sat down and watched it. Here we got the X-Men. Not sure if I think I have multiple copies of this too. I'm not sure, or either multiple copies of this or multiple copies of X-Men 2 or X-Men 3, one or the other. But this is the widescreen edition of it. Clearly, I'm not sure where this was bought at, because wherever it was bought at, it clearly they did. As a matter of fact, this one is still sealed. Like they put it's not sealed around the cardboard portion of it. But the DVD is still in its plastic. Like the case within it. So that's a bit of an unusual thing there, and wedged in there. Probably the only way to get it out is probably to break the box, which I'm not going to do. But I did see this I did see. Did I see this in theaters? No, I didn't. I wanted to see. We wanted to see it in theaters because it would have been like the day of when graduated from basic training at Fort Jackson in 2000. But the movie timing didn't sign up, so we saw Gone in 60 Seconds and Space Cowboys that day. This was the Ghostbusters 1 and 2 pack. When I say I'm a Ghostbusters fan and I have these two movies on multiple iterations. Obviously, I have him on VHS. I have the original DVD releases. Then I have this one, which was, I don't remember what the significance of this pack was. I think it was an anniversary. This was a gift set. And what was unique about this, other than having Ghostbusters 1 and 2, it was also one of the first times that episodes from the real Ghostbusters were included, namely the episodes, I believe, that tied in with the movies. And there's also a scrapbook. Can I get it out of here though? There we go. So the scrapbook had like concept art and stuff. So this made it a fun little novelty here. But again, the big thing here was like the inclusion of 2 episodes from the real Ghostbusters, because I believe this came out before the time home video releases of DVD releases of the real Ghostbusters animated series. Pulp Fiction, have this on VHS. This is the collector's edition on DVD. Let's see. Doesn't open up, so everything just slides out. Oh no, it does slide out. I always love that shot of Uma Thurman on the cover. There's a booklet with it and a 2-disc DVD set there. Da, 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 da. I was putting it in backwards. Of course I would, because I'm an idiot. No one ever said I was smart. And those who did were lying. Star Trek 2009 2-disc digital copy special edition. Saw this in theaters when it came out. And I was disappointed. I didn't see Into Darkness or Star Trek Beyond in theaters. I waited till they were available digitally on. I think I saw one on Netflix, one on Amazon Prime. But I was very much disappointed with it. It was more Star Warsy than Star Trek. But here's what it is there. This is the Rocky Anthology box set. Released before Rocky Balboa, collects Rockies 1 through 5. So, summary: Rocky 1 and 2, great like companion pieces. Like the first one, introducing the character and knowing that the original ending that Stallone wanted was for Rocky to die at the end, is making a single story. But obviously being talked out of that and going into Rocky 2, where okay, he came close to winning. And so it's like, okay, what if he's, give him the extra motivation, or Apollo feeling embarrassed, and that sets up Rocky 2 for the rematch. Rocky wins. Rocky 3 could be arguably the weakest in the series, but at the same time, it's Rocky basically getting to where Apollo was like he was just overconfident and just goaded into a fight. Well, not so much with Apollo. Apollo was seeking a an easy win, but Rocky's goaded by Clubber Lang and then loses and then wins. It's the only Rocky movie where he doesn't go the distance. Rocky 4 is, I don't have as much nostalgia for Rocky 4 now as most people do, because granted, it is like Ivan Drago was literally just the character of Ivan Drago is literally just a dragon for Rocky to slay. So I don't really like it as much. I mean, and it relies a lot on montages. There's like 2 full. I swear there is a ton of footage used from the first 3 movies in Rocky 4. Rocky 5, I feel, is actually underrated. Considering, okay, And it's a lot of foreshadowing considering the stuff with Bernie Madoff, like many years later up in New York. It was like Rocky just losing everything and having to start over from the beginning. I was like, he can't fight no more because of the fight with Drago took a lot out of him. Okay, he's gonna be a trainer, and things just works out going their own way. It's like I can understand why a lot of people didn't like Rocky 5, but at the same time, it does have a lot of it's a nice bookend. Granted, Rocky Balboa is is a better way to end the series, but Rocky 5, if they never made another Rocky movie after Rocky 5, I would have been happy with it, and was happy with it for many years. In fact, we'll put these ones together here. Predator 1 and Predator 2. It's like the Predator makes a mistake going after Arnold Schwarzenegger, and then it doubles down on this mistake and going after Danny Glover. It's I would dare say Predator 2 has the better overall story because of how it's really tying into how chaotic a lot of the inner urban cities were in the late 80s, early 90s. Just so there's that little factor in realism there. Predator, the first Predator movies, the more iconic, but Predator 2, I would argue, is better. It has a better overall story, and this has more characters and things to root for. Stargate, and this is the Ultimate Edition. Stargate in and of itself is a great movie, and the fact that it was adapted into a long-running TV series with two spin-offs and two other movies as well. Matter of fact, wasn't there? I would say, I'm not sure. Was there an animated series? I remember there either rumors of their coming out with an animated series, or there was one, but it was real short lived. I don't remember that. I'm not going to look it up now. But they got a lot of mileage out of the concept of Stargate, which easily could have been just one and done with the movie. But the fact that it got spun off and onto a long running series, and the TV series is awesome too. Matter of fact, when I first got into watching stuff digitally, it's like that was a series I was watching a lot, and mostly because I'm a Richard Dean Anderson fan. But there you go. Another copy of X-Men, the first movie. This one is. The other one was a widescreen edition. This one is. I'm not sure what this one is though, but it is clearly different. A different packaging from the other one. It's also a widescreen version. The question is, why did I have two copies of X-Men? Unless the other one was meant to be a gift that I never got around to giving away to somebody, but I do not know. The unrated director's cut of Saw 4, and I have like the box set for the first three Saw movies, and I didn't really care for it. But I got talked into watching the Saw movies by a good friend of mine, and it's like, okay, I'll give them. I'll give it get them a watch because it was cheap. At the time to get the box set, it's like, okay, and they said, oh, you gotta see Saw 4, and so I grabbed this one. This one is the 4x3 full screen versions. I didn't even bother to get the widescreen version of this of Saw 4. So that's how little I thought of it at the time. But again, I got goaded into it. So not that she would be watching this, but Christy, I was like, yeah, you were wrong about that. The franchise collection of Conan the Barbarian and Conan the Destroyer. Obviously the first one is the better of the two movies, but at the same time, the second one is in its own way a live action Lord of the Rings to some degree. Schwarzenegger, obviously, I firmly believe people should watch the first Conan the Barbarian movie. Conan the Destroyer, I can like take it or leave it. And again, it's another couple movies that I do have on VHS that I have on DVD. Die Another Day, which was the last Bond film I bothered to watch in theaters. And this is the special edition. Has a bit of a Velcro-y stuff here, the open stuff here. An action-packed 2-disc set. Has a widescreen feature. Documentaries, Madonna's Die Another Day video. And, I mean, one has to remember that Pierce Bronson was the original choice to replace Roger Moore, but he was making Remington Steele at the time. And or at least there was hope that he was hoping that Remington Steele will get canceled after one season so he can go be James Bond, but it turned out to be a bit of a hit, and Pierce Bronson didn't get to be James Bond until like the mid-90s. So one could argue if they could have gotten Bronson in for like The Living Daylights and License to Kill, and then having that transition into GoldenEye, it would have been, by the time we got to Die Another Day, it would have made more sense for his character to be more aged and rugged and rigid at that point. And it would have definitely worked for the opening sequence where he gets caught in North Korea. Final Fantasy: The Spirits Within, and I actually had the novel. At some point, I might even talk about what books I still have from my youth. But I will actually go ahead and defend this movie, because this movie actually, in many ways, is the fucking plot of Final Fantasy VII. In regards to, it's the spirits within the earth, Gaia, and everything. I mean, the only thing this movie doesn't have in its favor is it doesn't have any characters from the Final Fantasy games, but outside of Sid, who is in everything. But this was it's a very, very good movie in terms of it being like a full with all the CGI that was done in this. I mean, there is a running gag that's like everybody kept dropping their weapons so that they can climb a ladder, or at least that's what I remember being a bit of a gag. But it visually it holds up. I mean, think about it. When this came out, we wouldn't get video games that look as good as this movie until like the PS4, Xbox One era. There is a lot of stuff that was pioneered here. In fact, one could actually argue that the genesis for the Final Fantasy VII remake originates with this movie, because a lot of the visuals of Final Fantasy VII remake are very similar to this in terms of how the characters look, the motion capture, like the facial animations originate in this. So, again, my personal opinion on that. Final Fantasy VII Advent Children. I've only watched this once, and I thought it was all right. Nothing special. Well, I can gush about the Spirits Within. Advent Children, I don't really have much nostalgia for. Then again, anybody that knows me knows that I didn't care for the original version of Final Fantasy VII. I did enjoy my playthrough of Final Fantasy VII Remake. Resident Evil Degeneration includes a look at the upcoming Resident Evil 5 video game, which at the time I'm recording this, we're playing on Wednesday nights. And those archives versions of my streams on that with my buddy Iceman can be found here on this YouTube channel. I've only watched it, again, I would have watched this maybe once or twice. It was okay. But And I think it actually serves as the bridge between Resident Evil 4 and RE5, if memory serves me right. But I can't fully remember there, or don't want to remember. Resident Evil Extinction. And I remember I watched it once when I got it and never watched it again. So I was like, can't really say much about that. And the same I can also say for Resident Evil Apocalypse. You know what? I'm not gonna Speaking of Capcom, I should put my phones on silent and stuff like that, right? Really, I should. Bum, 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 bum. It's a scam call, so. Wait. It's like, and I'm not starting this video over, folks. So, like I said, we do it live, the hard drive up to YouTube. I don't believe in editing. I'm a terrible editor. Continuing onward here. I do have Resident Evil, the first movie, which I also have on VHS. And I thought this was good as a way of. I know some folks don't really like the movie because it focuses on basically the OC character for it. That was Mila Jovovich's character, whose name the character's name I can't honestly remember. But, at the same time, if they were just adapting the games scene for scene, the question is, whose story do you follow from the games? Because we got to remember, Resident Evil 1 and Resident Evil 2 both can be played from different point of views. So whose version of events is actually the canon versions? So that's really open for interpretation. So I think they made the right call going with with an original character being the lead. Finding this was actually a pain in the butt, and I'm not a really fan of its casing, of how it actually holds the disc. But this is Daria: The Complete Series, and it does include the 2 made-for-TV movies. Is it fall yet, and is it college yet? That served the bridge between So, yeah, Daria is really in that heyday when MTV actually had good programming on it, and to this day, I honestly think is like there was very little to watch on MTV that appealed to me in the late '90s when I was a teenager in high school. Daria was one show, and the other one was Celebrity Deathmatch, because I can appreciate the clay animation and the creativity that they went in with that. But Daria as a show, in terms of just how it could easily be adapted into almost any situation, and it was like the characters did gradually evolve over the course of the series. I mean, take Quinn, Daria's younger sister, goes from literally the spoiled brat at the beginning of the series, but you see her character evolution and change over the course of the series run. The episode Quinn the Brain is a great example of, again, a character's growth. Granted, okay, Brittany kind of grew as a character, Kevin not so much. The Fashion Club, a bit there. So there was some character growth. All right, so we got 6 box sets here. They're all Star Trek related. So this is Star Trek's Captain's Log. which was actually the uh, a box set that had like the 5 actors who played the lead captain: Scott Bakula, Patrick Stewart, William Shatner, Avery Brooks, and Kate Mulgrew. Uh, they picked their favorite episodes, and then there were episodes that the fans picked as like the best representation of those characters. So William Shatner's pick was The City on Edge of Forever. The fans picked were The Enterprise Incident and Balance of Terror as the best episodes, featuring Kirk. Uh, Star Trek: The Next Generation, Patrick Stewart picked In Theory. And the fans pick were Chain of Command Parts 1 and 2. I just think they wanted to see Patrick Stewart get tortured and get his shirt ripped off. Not to mention, Ronnie Cox actually makes Chain of Command really good, and just to go to show how bad a Captain Picard actually is. Avery Brooks's pick, Far Beyond the Stars, that obvious. While the fans pick What You Leave Behind Parts 1 and 2, which is the final episodes of the series, and In the Pale Moonlight, which is a great episode. Kate Mulgrew's pick is Counterpoint. I don't remember that particular episode off the top of my head. While the fans pick with the Omega Directive and Flashback. And Scott Bakula's pick was the episode Judgment from Star Trek Enterprise, while the fans picked These Are the Voyages and First Flight. These Are the Voyages, which is the last episode of the series, due to the sudden cancellation of it. I honestly cannot understand why, because that is a horrible episode on so many fronts because of the forced tie in there. Anyway, next we got Star Trek Q, The Fang Collective. Well, again, this all episodes focusing on Q. This includes Encounter at Farpoint, Hiding Q, Q Who, Dejak Q, Cupid, True Q, which are all Next Generation episodes. Q-Less from Deep Space Nine, Tapestry from the Next Generation, All Good Things, Death Wish from Voyager, the Q in the Gray, and Q2. Matter of fact, I think this is all of the Q episodes. Yeah. So if one was watching Star Trek Picard and they wanted a summary of Q's adventures, or how with Picard interactions with the Enterprise crew, not to mention the one brief stop into Deep Space Nine, and also popping in on Voyager a couple of times. This was a great collection. It's like having all of Q's episodes in one box set. This was the Time Travel Fan Collection, which includes Tomorrow Is Yesterday from the original series, the original time travel episode. No, that's not true. The original time travel episode is The Naked Time, because at the very end of The Naked Time, the Enterprise rolls back. Literally, time travel is introduced there. Tomorrow Is Yesterday is the second one, is where they again get flung back in time, and the whole time warp acceleration thing that is used in Star Trek 4 debuts in Tomorrow Is Yesterday. City on the Edge of Forever, which is on the Captain's Collection. Yesterday's Enterprise from the Next Generation, Cause and Effect. Time Zero Part 1 and Part 2, and All Good Things. So that's again a duplicate in the fan collection there. Little Green Men from Deep Space Nine's Trials and Tribulations. Those are obvious picks. Years of Hell, Parts 1 and 2 from Voyager, plus the episode Endgame from Voyager. It's like, oddly enough, like the final episodes of Deep Space Nine and Next Generation and Voyager get featured a lot. Are already mentioned them a few times here in these collections. Anyway, next one is Star Trek Klingon. And the episodes includes here, and from Enterprise, Broken Bow, Errand of Mercy from the original series, Trouble with Tribbles from the original series, from the Next Generation's Reputation includes A Matter of Honor, Sins of the Father, Redemptions Part 1 and 2, from Deep Space Nine, there's The Way of the Warrior and the Sword of Kahless, as well as Trials and Tribulations, and from Star Trek Voyager, Barge of the Dead, because that was the one real Klingon episode in all of Star Trek Voyager, where a Klingon sleeper ship ends up in the Delta Quadrant, or Generation ship, or something or other. The Star Trek Borg fan collection includes Regeneration, which is the direct follow-up to, in some ways, to Star Trek First Contact. Then it goes to Q from The Next Generation, The Best of Both Worlds Part 1 and 2, I, Borg, Descents Part 1 and 2, then it jumps to Voyager, which includes Scorpions Part 1 and 2, Drone, Dark Frontier, Unimatrix, Zero Parts 1 and 2, and Endgame. So all of the major Borg episodes are in this collection here. And last one from this one here, the Alternate Realities collection, which is kind of sharp though, because you get Spock and Spock with a beard on it. So these alternate time travel episodes, or alternate universe episodes, include from the original series, Mirror Mirror, from Deep Space Nine, Crossover Through the Looking Glass, Shattered Mirror, from Enterprise, In the Mirror Darkly Parts 1 and 2. Then you have Parallel Dimensions, which is the alternative factor and from the original series, and parallels from The Next Generation. Twisted Realities, which is they classifies The Enemy Within, Turnabout Intruder. So there's the final episode from the original series. It's in one of these collections there. So, from Next Generation, Frame of Mind, Shattered from Voyager, Alternate Lives, which from the Next Generations include represented the Yesterday's Enterprise, The Inner Light. Voyager has The Visitor. It's going to be Deep Space Nine's The Visitors on this. And Voyager's Before and After. And then Timeless from Voyager. And Course Oblivion. Star Trek Enterprise is E2 and Twilight. So they have it broken down into various sub-themes, like Mirror Universe, Twisted Realities, Alternate Lives. So there is so still a fine combination of episode stuff there. And again, I'll put those back because we're going to do another box here. And this is going to be more, well, there's more Star Trek in here. So we got Star Trek Enterprises seasons 1 and 2 with these freaking tins. So I'll just open up one. So I probably could get the dispense of this and this go with these, but keep the whole thing together. And didn't really grab seasons 3 or 4 at the time. But seasons 1 and 2 are actually pretty good. Take that for what it's worth there. This is the complete animated series. And I made sure to grab this when it came out because it was... I forget how this one opens. Oh, there we go. Because it's the clamshell, it opens forward. But this was a real big deal at the time because of how much people always say, it's like, oh, Gene Roddenberry says the animated series isn't canon. Well, let's see if the dude worked on it, get everybody involved working on it, has enough stories and concepts that are referenced and utilized in other portions of the franchise, it is canon. Because they were able to do more in animation that they couldn't do with live action. Lieutenant Eric's, the Navigator, was proof of that. This is a Godzilla, the Ultimate Godzilla DVD collection. It does not include every Godzilla movie, but it includes Godzilla, Godzilla King of the Monsters, Godzilla vs. Mothra, Godzilla's Revenge. Oh wait, excuse me. Godzilla King of the Monsters, Godzilla vs. Mothra, Godzilla's Revenge, and Terror of Mechagodzilla. And this has a bonus movie, or at least I guess they needed to sell these. Rodan, the giant monster of the sky. Great thing about Godzilla movies is that they are a lot of fun. The first one, the first Godzilla movie, the one with Raymond Burr, is like I can kind of take it or leave it with that. But the ones that were almost all the other ones have like a nice little charm to them. We got some. All right, we're getting into concerts and some live action stuff here, sports things, and one thing, and a little bit of wrestling here. No shock to anyone here. Sam Kinison breaking the rules. Sam Kinison, one could say, definitely say he, as a comic equally as controversial and as over the top as Andrew Dice Clay, who was the more of the rock and roll comic between the two. It's up for debate. Kinison kind of knew how to tone his act down, and he got on because he got on Carson. I don't think did Andrew Dice Clay ever do a set on Johnny Carson. I don't know that. If anyone does, put it in the comment section below if you made it to this point in the video. Van Halen Live Without a Net. This is the concert. That in the lineup is Michael Anthony, Sammy Hagar, Alex Van Halen, and Eddie Van Halen. So this includes what? There's Only One Way to Rock, Summer Nights, Get Up. Then there's a drum solo, 5150, Best of Both Worlds, bass solo, Panama, Love Walks In, guitar solo, I Can't Drive 55, Ain't Talking About Love, Why Can't This Be Love, and Rock and Roll. So that's the set list on this. This was originally released on VHS in 1986, so this was the so that kind of makes things wondering though. It's like there was like no home video concert featuring David Lee Roth before Live Without a Net in '86. What we got next here? Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons. I believe this was recorded. Yeah, it was in Atlantic City in 1992. It's actually a really a solid concert there where Frankie Valli, while he doesn't quite have the voice that he did from the late 70s at this point, he was still a solid performer, and there wasn't any concern of like, okay, how much of it just him dirt folks just putting him out on stage and milking him for all he's worth on the oldie circuit that there is over the past few years. Actually, the past 20 years, one could argue that, but that's a whole other thing here. The set list on this includes Working My Way Back to You, Dawn, Who Loves You, I've Got You Under My Skin, Beggin', My Eyes Adore You, Silver Star, December 1963, Swearing to God, Remember When, Sunday Kind of Love, Blue Moon, Grease, Silence is Golden, Opus 17, Fallen Angel, Can't Take My Eyes Off of You, Sherry, Walk Like a Man, Big Girls Don't Cry, Bye Bye Baby, and Let's Hang On. Some of these are actually a melody combination. Because I believe Remember When, Sunday Kind of Love, and Blue Moon was kind of like no, those were full songs, but I think Sherry, Walk Like a Man, and Big Girls Don't Cry were a melody, which was kind of like the norm at the time. And you can actually find that concert. Cause I remember I watched it not too long ago on YouTube, so that concert is available on YouTube. It's actually a good watch. The Vet, the complete history of baseball at Phillies Veterans Stadium, which includes the Field of Memories, which is the documentary of the history of the Vet, and the finals innings, which was the like after the final game at Veteran Stadium, they had the whole ceremony and presentation. Uh, with like all represent of players coming out onto the field, representing all the team's history at Veteran Stadium from like 1971 to 2003. For a Phillies fan, this was actually a great box, a great little collection there. I think I have Field of Memories on DVD as well. Bit of a controversial one here. Hard Knocks, the Chris Benoit story. This was released after he was booked to win the World Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania 20. And that's all we'll say about it. Although watching it, I actually did a review of it, I think a couple years ago for this YouTube channel. I think it's still on here. After I deleted my original channel and then started over from facts, stupid move and decision, I know. But I did a video on talking about that DVD and its presentation and everything, but one could argue there were signs even then that the dude wasn't right in the head. All right. Andrew Dice Clay's No Apologies with his 1993 comedy special. And here's the thing: most people think he kind of like faded away and wasn't doing big specials like after like Dice Rules and of Adventures of Fairlane. Those were like 90, 91 ish. No, he had a few specials. This was 93. I think there was the St. Valentine's Day Massacre a year or two after this. So I've never seen that. But one thing that stands out about me visually about this is that it's more of like a center circular stage, and which is kind of similar to George Carlin's Class Clown special, if memory serves me right. It's been a long time since I actually sat down and watched that one. So, Stray Cats, Rumble in Brixton. Great concert of the Stray Cats during their initial reunion tour, and so the set list on this was Rumble in Brighton, Double Talking Baby, Something's Wrong with My Radio, Bongi Stomp, Stray Cat Strut, Gene and Eddie, Too Hip Gotta Go, Sleepwalk, I Won't Stand in Your Way, My Baby Left Me, Blast Off, 18 Miles to Memphis, Bring It Back Again, Fish and Stockings, Runaway Boys, Rock This Town, That's Alright, Good Rockin' Night, 20 Flight Rocks, 1617, Please Don't Touch, and Mystery Train Kept a Rollin', which was a new studio track, but the video was included on here. Please Don't Touch was the closing song on the concert itself. I actually have the CD set as well, which was a 2-disc set. And finding this is like at the time it caught my attention. Obviously, is the great cover and artwork there, and it really got my interest in Brian Setzer in the 2000s and tracking down all the stuff he did in terms of his orchestra and a lot of and some of his solo stuff. Stray Cats is like there was some hit and miss. There's like the best of the Stray Cats. There is one album of the Stray Cats retrospective album is actually the best of it. Really condenses like everything associated with that band. And I think Setzer is at his best when he has a full orchestra around him that he can play off of more than just a half drum kit and a stand up bass player. All respect to, or no disrespect to Slim Jim Phantom or Lee Rocker. Paul Rodriguez live in St. Quentin. At the time I'm recording this, I watched this and I referenced this in my blog just a few nights ago. It's the history of Paul Rodriguez performing at St. Quentin prison is like he was asked to do it as part of like a comedy set They also included George Wallace, I believe, and Paul Rodriguez went on last. And so this is actually his second performance, which was live on HBO. And very respectful, very well done. Is like it makes the obvious jokes as like he's performing in front of actual convicts, people who were doing time. And I think a lot of the jokes and humor in this do hold up. This did come out at the time of originally aired on HBO at the time of the OJ trial, so there is some dated references, but it definitely puts things in a broad light. There's actually a great documentary, not so much a documentary on it, but it also includes like a some footage from the original special that he did is like Paul Rodriguez behind bars, and it does like a lot of like a documentary of sorts of him interacting, talking to, and asking questions of the folks who are actually in prison. And there's also at the time of this DVD release another like an interview with Mr. Rodriguez, giving his thoughts on it and looking back on it. Again, it's a very interesting watch, and unlike anything that George Lopez does, this is actually something that one consider actual. I would say mandatory viewing for anybody who's looking to be a stand-up comic. Like I know, in terms of like knowing your audience, knowing where you're performing at, this is. I would say this is almost like a mandatory watch. Not so much a DVD, but this is the something from the Star Trek official fan club. Welcome to the Star Trek official fan club. Here is your membership kit. As a new member, you will receive news, and interviews, and photos of the world of Star Trek through Star Trek official fan club magazine. The club also offers a Star Trek casting crew mail forwarding service. Simply send us your letter addressed to your favorite Star Trek celebrity, and we'll forward it to his or her address. We also encourage you to write us with your comments and opinions on all aspects of Star Trek for possible publication in our Reader's Comments column in each issue of the magazine. When writing the club, if you require a response, please be sure to include a self-addressed stamped envelope to receive a reply. Also, please include your membership number found on your mailing label on the back of the magazine above your address when inquiring about your membership renewing or when sending us your change of address. With Star Trek The Next Generation and Deep Space Nine blasting their way onto your television screens every week, and the original crew in the series of motion pictures, there's more Star Trek being made than ever before, and you'll be receiving a first-hand look at the new Star Trek productions as a member of the Star Trek official fan club. Welcome aboard, and I hope you enjoy being a part of the Star Trek adventures. Best regards, Star Trek The Official Fan Club. Funny enough, I think it was the this was the Dissolve, or at least the magazine went out of publication like 2 years, like sometime during the middle of Voyager's run. So 8 hours of stand-up comedians performing like from 1985 to 1993 at the so this is all recorded at the Rascals Comedy Club. Like 8 hours worth, and boy, they really went out of their way for this one, huh? But the performers on here include Tim Allen, Rosie O'Donnell, Frankie Price, Andrew Dice Clay, Bill Hicks, Mario Cantone, Joe Rogan. What a terrible fucking comic he is. Rich Jenny, Joe Behar, John Mendoza, Jim Brewer, Vic DiPetetto, Billy Garin, Ray Romano, Don MacArthur, Mick Lazinski, Bobby Collins, Larry Reeb, Rob Bartlett, John Fox, Brian Regan, Christopher Titus, Al Romero, Bill Bellamy, Rich Voss, Adam Friera, Robert Schimmel, Vic Dunlap, Dennis Wolfberg, The Amazing Jonathan, Tommy Blaze, John Knight, Basil Katsakitnis, John Joseph, Max Delecci, Vic Henley, Lenny Clark, Andy Kidner, Nick DiPaolo, and Kenny Rogerson. Basically, what this is the Comedy Central lineup of comics that would appear on almost all the original stuff that they try to do on that network in the early 2000s. Because almost one could say like, oh, who ended up being huge from this list? Obviously, Tim Allen, Rosie, Andrew Dice Clay, and Ray Romano. There's a lot of names on here I recognize from various things. Adam Friara, Nick DiPaolo, Christopher Titus, the Amazing Jonathan, who passed away not too long ago. I think it was last year. Brian Setzer Orchestra live in Japan, which is actually, again, a great concert there. This has the intro of Hawaii Five-O, Cats on the Hot Tin Roof, Dirty Boogie, Jumping East of Java, Footloose Doll, Drive Like Lightning, Crash Like Thunder, Caravan, Americano, I Won't Stand in Your Way, Mystery Train, Gene and Eddie, Guitar Rag, which I think is him just doing a solo. Sleepwalk, Stray Cat Strut, Jump Jive and Well, Pennsylvania 65000, Get in the Mood, Get Me to the Church on Time, Rock This Town, and I think another version of Rock This Town, the 68, the comeback special version, which I believe. The question is on the timing on when this was recorded and released, which I can't quite remember. But again, excellent concert there. The Beatles celebration. This was something that was gifted to me that I have not watched, so I'm not entirely sure. But again, I guess it's just interviews and stuff with the of the Beatles. Again, I've never watched it. It's still sealed. Blues Brothers Special Edition. The Best of the Blues Brothers, which I believe, is this the interview? Okay, yeah, this is essentially the documentary of the Blues Brothers, which is like how John Belushi and Dan Aykroyd met, uh, and then it's with back and forth because it's a double shot. Because Dan Aykroyd is appearing as himself and also as Elwood Blues, and very briefly they appearing on camera with himself. So it has various stuff from some of the concerts like Soul Man, Groove Me, Messing with the Kid. And I think I have two versions of this too. Because I know one version did stop working on no matter what DVD player I would use. You Shoot Missy Hyatt, which is a shoot interview or through kayfabe commentaries. Missy Hyatt, they could, is the interview subject. A lot of the questions were sent in. So Missy Hyatt won the original female diva in terms of like being able to work heel and work heel effectively, have great character work, mic skills. Obviously, not being used much as a wrestler, but a lot of tropes that associated with a lot of villainous female characters in the world of wrestling can be traced back to Missy Hyatt. Um, didn't really get. I don't think she has gotten her just due in the world of wrestling because of the lawsuit she filed against WCW and Turner Enterprises, to which the likes of Eric Bischoff and Tony Schiavone still can't talk about it. But still, it is. One Night Was Dice, another Andrew Dice Clay comedy special, which I believe would have been his first one that saw like home video release. A lot of the jokes on this have not aged well, but his timing and his dealing in a way of including the audience is, effective for what it is. We got Elvis Aloha from Hawaii, and this actually includes uh what was it? It was like two concerts on this. One is It was like the rehearsal concert and then the one that ended up being recorded and aired live. Like different versions. So the rehearsal concert, I believe the set list is the same across all three. So the rehearsal concert, the CC Rider, Burning Love, Something, You Gave Me a Mountain, Steamroller Blues, My Way, Love Me, It's Over, Blue Suede Suit, It's So Lonesome I Could Cry, Hound Dog, What's Now My Love, Fever, Welcome to My World, Suspicious Minds, I Remember You, the American Trilogy, A Big Hunk of Love, and Can't Help Falling in Love. So the Aloha from Hawaii concert itself, all those same songs, but it includes Johnny Be Good, Between Love Me and It's Over, I Can't Stop Loving You, between I'm So Lonesome I Could Cry and Hound Dog, Suspicious Minds, A Melody of Long Tall Sally, and a Whole Lot of Shaking Going On, which after I'll Remember You. So there you go. So it's like the concert version had some uh additional stuff there. And then there's the version Hawaii Aloha from Hawaii, the NBC's TV special, like the broadcast version, which also included like some insert songs and sessions like that was worked in between stuff. I don't know. It's like granted it's Elvis, like not quite at his peak, but with the big jumpsuit and everything, it's an excellent historical piece. Because I don't think that this is like because part of it did air live, I believe, or there was a major tape delay or something or other. I think that was a big claim. This is the Live Aid box set. July 13th, 1985. I would have only been like, let's say I was born in 82, 83, I would have been like 2.5 years old at the time. So, big box set. So they include both concerts that was over in Wembley and Philadelphia. And it's like, how the hell did they screw things up between with Live 8? It's like, how did they screw things up so badly? Well, they answer is because it was like MTV, VH1, and at least in the US version of it, that they just didn't know when to shut the fuck up and let the music play. It's like it had like all their VJs and video jockeys or personalities talking over the music. Like, show the fucking concert. We don't give a damn about what your personal on air personalities are saying and commenting on. And so, and there's a reason why this holds up. So the performers at Wembley were Adam Ant, Boomtown Raps, David Bowie, Phil Collins, Elvis Costello, Dire Straits, Brian Ferry, Elton John, Howard Jones, Nick Kershaw, Alison Moyet, Queen, Sade, Spandau Ballet, Status Quo, Style Control, Sting, U2, Ultravox, Paul Young, Wham, and The Who. Well, at the JFK Stadium in Philadelphia, there was Bryan Adams, The Cars, Eric Clapton, Duran Duran, Boy George, Hall & Oates, Mick Jagger, uh, Billy Joel, Waylon Jennings, Judas Priest, Chris Christopherson, Huey Lewis and the News, Robert Plant, Power Station, The Pretenders, Santana, Paul Simon, Simple Minds, Tears for Fears, Temptations, Thompson Twins, Neil Young, Stevie Wonder. I think Phil Collins appeared at both concerts, if memory serves me right. But I think also on this is like Tina Turner also appears performing with Mick Jagger as well, because and and Keith Richards also appears, but it's like I forget at one point. But it's like the greatest collection, or at least that's the building. Like there's more listed on the back here, at least in terms of who was like Ron Wood, Keith Richards and Ron Wood performed with Bob Dylan. That's right. But definitely a massive concert. Alrighty, we got two more things in here. The Van Halen Video Hits Volume 1, which is actually a tie-in with the CD of Van Halen Greatest Hits Volume 1. There was never a Volume 2, oddly enough. But this has all the music videos up to the point of this release, or up to a point. So Jump, Panama, Hot for Teacher, When It's Love, Finish What You Started, Pound Cake, Run Around Right Now, Dreams, Don't Tell Me What Love Can Do, Can't Stop Loving You, Not Enough, Human Beings, and Without You. So it's like only a couple, obviously, tunes featuring David Lee Roth. Then everything featuring all this with Sammy Hagar, and the one with Gary Sharon. So it's like Gary Sharon one kind of sticks out like a sore thumb, doesn't it? And lastly, here, the 25th anniversary collection of the Phillies 1980 World Series, released in 2005. But this includes what was it? The Glory Days documentary, The Team That Wouldn't Die, which was a documentary of the 1980s team. Then disc two is Game 5 of the League Championship Series between the Phillies and Houston at the Houston Dome, October 12th, 1980. And then Game 6 of the World Series, October 21st, 1980. So it's a important thing there. So probably 25 years after 2008, there'll probably be a box set celebrating the 2008 World Series at the same time. But very much a great collection for Phillies fans, and when it was released, because a lot of channels that stuff like on YouTube and the archiving of footage was not quite common. So having, unless you had the games on recorded off your TV on a VHS tape, getting hands on game footage was not exactly common back then as it is now. It was more common in like the early 2000s, because that came out in 2005. But unless you were buying every sports tape that was being officially released and recording every single game, which people were doing, because there are YouTube channels that have like full games and like nearly full seasons of footage being available. But anyway, so those were two bags there, and obviously I had a lot to talk about on each of these, but there you go. So till next time, my friends, and you are my friends. Tighten your friendship bracelets, stay safe, like, comment, subscribe, and if you want to hang out, you can always find me nightly over on my Twitch channel. Till next time, see you in the next video.